Look at you. I know, I'm trying to get us all good.
Elizabeth is on now, so you do that.
Hello there.
Great, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, ma'am. Okay, it is 1:30, so we will begin the September the 18th meeting of the Beaufort County Board of Education's Finance Committee. Meeting will be live streamed on the school board's YouTube channel. To speak during the Finance Committee public comments, please sign up using the public comment form. You can find the Board of Education public comment form on our website, https://beaufortschools.net/about-us/board-of-public-comments. You receive a phone call during the public comments where you'll be able to speak and address the committee for a maximum of 3 minutes on issues within the committee's domain. Limited to 15 minutes. Citizens desiring to participate in person must fill out a public comment card that can be obtained from the board clerk upon arrival. So with that, we'll call the meeting to order. Is there a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Properly moved. And I second, unless Ms. Boatright is on.
No, only Miss Gordon can, but she comes on.
Oh, it's my, okay. All right. I second. So all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye, pass unanimously. If you will, join for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the absence of our colleague, Mr. Nay, I'll go, awesome. All right. Statement of media notification, Ms. Beard?
Yes, they've been notified.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there public comments?
Yes, sir. We have,
Mr. Miller.
Thank you again for this opportunity. I just want to describe a situation. I don't have a solution. I don't even begin to say I know all the parameters that make it. But you, the board, and the finance committee have created 2 new positions in the area of art. They were, if it's at least possible in the future for these type of things, it would be nice if they could be filled or announced toward the end of the prior school year as opposed to the beginning of a new school year. And the reason I say that is the announcement, you don't get all potential candidates, I'll say, both in the district and from outside the district, have probably already taken positions and made and in the case of these 2 positions, Matthew Brenner was given the position of Director of Fine Arts. He was and is the band director at Beaufort High. So when he took the position, he's having to split 2 areas. And in fact, he's kind of having to, the one area, he goes a half a day to Bluffton Band and a half a day here, but even that is divided into the coordinator of visual arts and the coordinator of performing arts. So, and at this point, the best I can determine from looking at, I'm going to run really short on time. not all those positions are filled yet. They aren't, I don't see anything posted. I suspect there's hesitancy on potential candidates coming in. Their hesitancy on principals to release them, and it kind of creates a situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
For, for this.
Welcome, Ms. Gordon. Okay. We have the minutes of the committee meeting from August 14th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Hay. Ms. Gordon, do you second? Okay, I'll second. Ms., all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Hay, aye.
Okay, pass unanimously. Thank you. Board monthly budget report.
Good afternoon. This is the board monthly budget report as of year-to-date, as of September 11th, 2025, at which point we ran this report. It shows the original and revised budgets were identical, and year-to-date spending, as well as the encumbrances, along with the available budget. So we are at overall at a 13% spending amount as of this point in the year, which is typical. This will pick up as expenses and invoices come through. Primarily, the largest spending item we have is the organization membership and dues, which is the third from the bottom on page 2. It's $50,400. Typically, that is a one-time payment per year. It's SCASA dues or School Board Association dues, and that includes professional development and our administrative regulation repository on our website. So other than that, very little, other than some travel, board member travel and staff travel is on this. So very little to discuss at this point during the year. So I'll open it up to any comments or questions in that area.
Any questions from the committee members?
I do not have any.
Ms. Gordon?
I
Is
do
there
not
other board-
I do not have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Colonel Guy? Any other board? That's it for board members?
Leah Frazier, William Smith.
Okay, Mr. Smith or Ms. Frazier?
No questions from me.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Smith?
I don't have any questions right now.
Thank you, sir. Transparency report.
All right, on the, this is the July 2025 transparency report. It is 114 pages. There is a number, this is the traditional transparency report, the one that goes on the website and will continue to do that into perpetuity. So with any specific questions, I'll be happy to take those, and me and my team will respond accordingly.
Okay. Ms. Hay?
No, I don't have
Questions?
any questions on that report. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Gordon?
I'm impressed with the 114 pages, but I do not have any questions.
That is an impressive number.
Yes, it is.
Ms. Frazier? Okay, moving on to Mr. Smith. She's unmuted. Ms. Gordon, Ms. Frazier?
No, I don't have any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Smith?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Colonel Guy? Okay. So one of the things I did when I looked through it is that this is a good report, and I'm glad you're retaining it so we can actually go through it. I've learned to actually go in and use Diligent to actually mark up the digital copy. And I found that very beneficial. Is no one impressed with that?
I can quiet.
Like, that took like 3 years. So my colleagues have promised to help me learn how to print it out so I can see what I've actually, but one of the things is, as you go through the new way of consolidating and reporting, which is the summary process, Project Mates is the name of it?
Smart sheet.
Smart Sheets, okay. So I think that's gonna take a lot of it, but one of the things I like doing was I would have a cutoff amount. And anything above that cutoff amount, I'll look at and look to drill deeper. And so I always found that very beneficial. I'm not saying do that, because I think what do you call it?
System,
Sys-
smart sheets.
Smart Sheet.
There's so many of them.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Probably gonna take care of that, but you know, I'm really interested. And Colonel Guy asked this a few years ago, and I've never forgotten it. His question was, are we handling it so we would identify even the small variances without varying the humans? The system should be able to do that now. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so the other thing is, can we, in one of the systems, one of the reports, is it a way to look at it even more grouping by school?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
You can look it up by school, but the easiest ways to look at it is by segments that already exist here.
mhm.
So by an account, a piece of an account number, by the title or program, by the vendor, by the school location, that sort of
Okay.
things. There are segments that exist.
Okay.
Some things could be asked for that could cross multiple segments. So that those, like consultants, for example, could take an analysis of which segments of the account number would that be, and then have to build a separate report on to pull out those that we believe are consultants. There may be some that we find that aren't really a consultant, but happen to be coded to that account number. But it would generally pull basic information. So there are ways that the system is, Ms. Yinger and I spoke this morning, and there are ways, if we are limiting to certain segments, that we could build a report. It would and sort it. It might just take a few hours to build the structure or the template of the document. So
Okay. Colonel, you raised that 2 years ago. Do you have any continuing comments or insights or?
It's so complex. And it is not a predictive cycle. Because billing is not always in a predictive cycle. So it's very difficult to take something very complex and make it into something very simple and at a first glance to take a look at. The value of going through this kind of line by line is, and this is where AI would have to come in, is you would set parameters of variances, as you mentioned, but also conflicts. For example, when we see something in one school that is way out of whack, and water bills would come up every now and then because we'd have a flood or whatever, and you'd see the water bill, then you would cross-check that with the maintenance and that, putting that kind of thing together. There's no way short of an AI. And then you'd have to develop the algorithms for that AI to look at it. And frankly, it was 5 and 6 years of looking at this that allowed me to kind of zero in on things that popped up. Well, that's what you got to put in for AI to do that kind of thing. And that really takes the committee and the your shop to look for those algorithms that will immediately ping you to say, whoops, what's this one about? But I don't know, other than going line by line to be able to do that. And it takes an inordinate amount of time. And again, it's not, every month is different. It's not the same groupings every month. It changes. So, but it's extremely valuable to have, first of all, oversight. And secondly, to get questions, because oftentimes we have billing problems. You know, we have address problems, we have title problems and so on that pop up. So that's about all.
Well, good insight. And again, you raised that like 2 years ago. Never forgotten that. CFO Crosby, does the Diligent have that AI capability?
I'm not aware that it does, no, sir.
Not yet.
Uh,
They're working on it.
Oh, they're working on it? Oh, good. Okay. So one of the things might be a training session. I think you, Ms. Cushenberry, you work with Diligent and they can provide training for us.
Right, but that's what, I think what you're asking for might be something separate.
Okay.
Can I,
Yeah.
as somebody who understands AI for 1 second, say one thing?
Yeah, Ms. Hay, just wait 1 minute. She
Yep.
teed you up and I just want to make sure I give you full stage when it.
Yep, no worries.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. You and I talked about something you discovered that had an AI capability.
Yes. It might be better to discuss it after or maybe at
No
the
problem.
end of our new transparency report.
Okay.
Kind of relates more to that.
Perfect.
So we're ready to, prepared to discuss that during that segment. If you want to go ahead and move through the consolidated reports and then we can
Fine with
have
that.
a full
No problem.
discussion on that one.
Ms. Hay, as a resident expert on AI, absolutely.
Definitely not an expert, but learning through family members who are in this realm for their business.
Okay.
And it builds off of what Colonel Geyer was saying and suggesting is what will actually happen once we have an AI program to implement, or if Diligent were to add AI to their services, would be that we would be uploading, or they would be uploading. We could tell them the window of documentation that Mrs. Crosby and her team have already supplied, and that would get uploaded into the database to then give the AI the history of these reports that it then crawls through to create the algorithm to give us the information we're asking it for. So, for example, as you were saying, you have number markers. I've done similar things. Like I'll look through the report, what's above 50 grand? That's going to tick my interest, right? But then not only that, what are the vendors? That's how I like to look at it too. What are the vendors that are all of a sudden jumping off the page at me? Like, I don't see that year over year as I've sat on the finance committee. Like that one doesn't look normal to me. So then I dig into that. Why this expense? Where does it come from? You know, is it the sister company of another company that we utilize for a different service? But again, the AI models will be able to tell us that once we have something of that sort to utilize. So it will be helpful to us. And I look forward to what Mrs. Crosby is going to share with us further down the line. But I just wanted to say it will be something we will just need to upload the information into. It's not going to necessarily create a huge headache for parts of our team. It should simplify for them. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. And you are an expert, so we're very comfortable with you doing that and helping us. One of the things that really want to make sure is it doesn't increase the workload by using AI. Ms. Boatwright in the technology committee yesterday had a real good discussion about a survey they're creating. And so as they reach out and develop that survey, I think the finance group, you have an opportunity to really give specific requests that will enable greater drill down ability, but not increase the workload on our staff. So we'll tee that up, and Ms. Hay should be a part of that as well. Is that okay with you, Ms. Hay? We're gonna take that as a yes. Okay. Any others? Mr. Smith? Comment, sir?
I'm going to, only thing I will say is at this point in time that I do agree with, with Mr. Guyer. But one thing I will say too, I think is more also upon the history of understanding the finance committee and where we've come from as a district and why the protocols were put in that were put in. I think that's a more understanding of why we are particularly on seeing things the way we currently have. I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
Oh, all right. Ms. Frazier?
No, sir, just enjoying the conversation. No questions at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. Colonel Guy, anything else? Any guidance for us?
But one of the things that we have to always look at temptations and when you look at our Amazon expenditures and our Staples expenditures, those are ways where you really got to keep an eye out on what's being purchased by who and when, because that's where you get these small little pieces of fraud, waste, and abuse that if you don't catch them right away, become large pieces of fraud, waste, and abuse. And that's I spent a lot of time going and looking at all the Staples and all the Amazon things, seeing what schools are buying them, and you try to figure out what the product is, because you can buy anything on Amazon. And some things we have no business buying on Amazon. So that's my concern about this is I want our people that make these purchases knowing that if I do something goofy, I'm gonna be caught. I just want to take away temptation so we don't have people making wrong decisions.
Absolutely. So, and I'm sorry, yes, ma'am.
In response to that, procurement is the gatekeeper of every purchase in the
She is.
whether it's on Amazon or Staples or any other vendor. So all 10,000 per month transactions go through Ms. Yinger's office, and our folks look very carefully at those things. But we also have a policy, an internal procedure, and when Ms. Yinger has an opportunity to speak, she can tell you more about our policies of requiring our staff to use state approved vendors that are already on contract first. If that is not available, if the product is not available, then we go to Amazon, or if it's a much cheaper price. So if we can justify that it's a much lower cost or that it's not on state contract, then exceptions we allow them to use those services. So as you can see, we have thousands of transactions a month. And so there's a wide volume. So there still appears to be a lot, but that's because there's such a large volume in our district. We have, so we do have restrictions on that, and our bookkeepers are trained quite regularly. Every month we have a meeting with bookkeepers, and sometimes even more often than that on what their purchasing habits should look like. So.
Is that something that, as the technology committee moves forward, that finance might could input that to see if they can develop algorithms to actually identify those anomalies? Because when I looked at the report this month, the number of Staples, to the Colonel's point, is really number of accounts. Is really
And Staples is on state contract, and that's why that is our go-to vendor. So
okay.
it would be, we would go to Amazon if the price was less expensive than Staples. So we just consider and make sure that our bookkeepers who are providing shopping for certain products are looking multiple places and getting the best dollar. But certainly we want them to look at state contract first.
Okay, all right. So, and for your team, please only accept this line of questioning as any lack of faith in what's already occurring. You folks do a superb job. We'll relay that to them. Okay. That's it for the board monthly budget report. Is that correct?
And the transparency, I think we're at the consolidated $100,000 report.
Okay, moving right along, ma'am.
So the next two reports are the $100,000 reports as required for policy. A few years ago, we did a consolidated report, to make a little more concise, 2 pages. And so there are, this is a comparison of July 2025 to July 2024. And the terms, rationale for major variances, as well as the terms of payment, whether it's monthly, quarterly, recurring payments from that particular vendor and so on. So most of the major variances here are going to be your construction vendors. They may have had construction services this year, but not last year, such as Ajax Building Company sticks out here. Let's see. Interstate Premier Services is one of our new custodial vendors we did not have last year. That's about midway down through the list. $621,000. That is a new custodial vendor. Low Country Air Solutions is a contractor for HVAC services. That is an additional contractor this year, but above and beyond our normal maintenance contract to help with the HVAC repairs for the district. And again, these were services, bills paid in the month of July. So that would have been in the summer months, payments and the services. Let's see. PIBA Insurance for Finance. Every year we have 2 payments that go 2 months payments in the month of July. We must have paid one in one fiscal year and one in 1 month, one in the next month in last year. So we pay a premium and an advance premium each year. Last year, the advance premium was most likely paid either just barely in June or just barely in August. So the month it differed slightly by a month. But that payment was certainly made each year twice, 2 payments. Shoreline is the company that is working on the construction for multiple sites, including the District Office Technology Center, which just ramped up this year. So that is a new construction contractor that we're doing business with recently that we did not do last year. So, and the Bud Group, again, that is another custodial vendor that was not on our team last year. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay. Ms. Gordon, any questions?
Yes, first, thank you for this fine report and the questions and Ms. Hay and all the comments that were made. I do have one. We talked about the consultants and we paid them through this service as well, I believe. Is there a way that we can make sure that there's no nepotism? Or is that okay now to do that? So if a consultant comes in and does some consulting work that they're not related to me or to, for instance, Rodriguez or someone, or is that okay now that they are? I just don't know the parameters. But I think this is a fine report and a great use of the technology as we move forward, and just making sure that we continue dotting our I's and crossing our T's.
Would you like to answer that, Ms. Singer? I think you deal with a lot of contracts.
Yes, so policy states that no employee can serve the district in a contracting capacity and an employment capacity, and procurement works closely with Lori Mogg, the finance director of finance, to make sure that our W-2 employees do not also have 1099. So we make sure that that's not a conflict as well. We do, when contracts come through the procurement office, if we can, because it's not always clear. We know that Beaufort is a very close-knit community. There are a lot of families here back generations. If we do our best to make sure that no one is related directly to the school that the service is being performed at, as it
Mhm.
is against policy. But unless we are told, we would not know immediately. So we do our best to mitigate all of that. So far, we've been pretty successful. But I can't say that it completely wouldn't happen if people have different last names or different addresses. We don't know where people live. So, but we do have our policies in place to make sure that definitely no employees are also being paid as contractors as well with their own personal businesses with BCSD.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Ms. Hay?
Ms. Hayes and both Ms. Frazier both say they don't have any questions.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
I don't have any questions at this time, but I definitely do agree with Mrs. Gordon.
Okay, Colonel, any comments, insights? Again, what we're looking at is really trying to think of what potentially could go wrong and have a conversation and identify potential preventative measures. So you're doing a good job. You understand how tough it is in procurement to actually screen all of that. Would there be value in asking the South Carolina Ethics Commission to speak with our colleagues and ask them if they have, by you, okay, or the superintendent or whomever, right? But just so that we can say we actually elevate to the highest level in state government, and do you have any best practices that might apply to us? And then I think, since you cannot screen every person in every second tertiary connection, that shows we've actually made a strong effort to be preventative. How does that sound to the group? Ms. Gordon, Ms. Hay, how do you like that, just raising that question?
That's fine with me.
Ms. Gordon?
Oh, that's fine with me as well.
Okay, Ms. Frazier?
Yes, it's fine.
Mr. Smith?
What was the question again?
So since we are looking at how to prevent something that has not occurred to our knowledge, but trying to make sure we are taking preventative steps, exploratory, just to engage the South Carolina Ethics Commission and ask them if they have best practices that they would like to share with us. So that going forward, a year, 2, 3 years from now, that would be one of the steps that we would have taken that says, yes, this group actually tried, even though those things is, the probability is you may have a small breach at some point. So it would just be a conversation if you want to talk to them. There are 2 people that are phenomenal there. And whenever I got an issue, I call and say, hey, can I do this? And that's Aaron and Martha. And they're patient and they will give caveats and what they look for.
Ms. Singer's position, my own board members, as well as Dr. Rodriguez's position, all have ethics requirements that we would have to disclose if we were related to a vendor, particularly in the procurement department who's helping to secure vendors. So we would all have to disclose or get that information, and in the event that a contractor did business with us or an employee was related to us in some way. So that is something that we are required to do, but we'll look deeper and ask some questions. Maybe there's a policy or something that we could incorporate into existing practices that we have. So
I forgot to mention, I guess when I was thinking small dollar contracts like consultants. On the RFP, IFB side, the sealed bids that we have to do of expenditures that are gonna cost more than $100,000. We require any of our committee members or anybody who is going to participate in the selection process to sign a confidentiality and a conflict of interest form. So they actually have to sign a document that says, I have no conflict of interest. No one that I know works for this company. So our major contracts, that is in place, and that pushes the accountability back on them to be truthful.
those are for those making decisions about whether to go with vendor or not, but not necessarily with the staff at the schools who would be working, where the contractor may be working at. So we don't have anything in line there, but definitely at the decision level, there are processes in place, but.
And I don't question those at all. I hope it doesn't sound. It is really about being proactive. And if
100%.
something were to happen, we'd be able to say we went this extra step or two. So kudos to the whole team. All right, I see heads nodding over there. Is that good? All right. All right, next report, ma'am.
And then the next report is the detailed report, which has basically the same information, just has more pages of detail.
114.
8 pages on this one, which is the detailed version of the $100,000 report. So just want to present that and offer an opportunity for any questions or comments on that one.
Committee members, either of you have questions, comments, insights?
No, sir, I did not.
Ms. Hay, from an AI perspective, you're hearing this conversation, so please feel free to weigh in and consider, and you can opine today, or you can send something and so that we can capture that to Ms. Crosby, okay?
Yes.
All right. Next one.
All right, next report is the Transparency Analytics Report. This is the new version of that would enhance the reader's ability to visualize major variances that would ultimately replace the detailed $100,000 reports you see in that you've just seen previously. In addition to other analysis of spending by fund, by category, and can be analyzed in many different ways, various groupings, programmatic groupings. So I want to start by saying that Ms. Hay mentioned something earlier that this is built through these analytics are built through Smartsheets. Smartsheets has an AI component to it, and we do load. I've just confirmed this year. The way this data is captured and structured in different graphics is that we upload the July 2024 transparency report, and we upload the July 2025 transparency report into the database, and then build a template of various graphics that we are interested in using. And our whole team that you see here today, all of our directors, whether grants, budget, procurement, internal controls, general finance, we all came together and picked the reports you're seeing here today as what we believe the most valuable for this committee. It still meets the requirements of the board's policy to have a $100,000 report. So there's no vote required to use this. It is more of a consensus that we're looking for to replace the other reports. But we also, most importantly, is at the end, the very last page on page 6, provide the link to the 114-page report from this document. So you can actually scroll to the 6th page, click here, and go straight to the website where this 114-page report is. That resides under monthly transparency. And then whatever month year you're looking for. So we're in fiscal year 26. And then July of 2025 is the transparency report. So that will download up at the top right-hand corner. You'll see a drop down. And if it goes away, then you would scroll over there to up top above in the toolbar, up a little more to the right. Right there is your download button. So that gives you downloads, or you can click downloads there, click that. And that file, click on the file. It's an Excel spreadsheet. And that is your transparency report. So it downloads it, puts it up in the top, and you click on downloads, and it will pop up, and the entire report in an Excel spreadsheet will be created. So this could then be saved. It's already saved in your downloads folder. And you could go into AI and upload this file and say whatever you want. Search on, provide a list of vendors or consultants or contractors or whatever you wanted to, and it would summarize a list for you. So, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but well, I guess I'll go ahead and mention, we are going to actually meet with the instructional technology team and who regularly train folks on AI and coordinate with them to set a meeting up, a date and time that works for the board, and provide some training. And it will begin at the basics and move to something more, a little more complicated, like uploading a file of some kind for you. So Robin and I have already talked this morning, and we're going to get with Ms. Beck on Varsky, Colleen, and to set something up to start simple and then move you to something a little more complex. So we'll be in touch very soon on a date and time, or some options on dates and times for you. Okay.
You notice I can't stop.
I know you're excited. So, but with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Yinger, who is the author of this document, and we'll go through this 6-page report instead of 114, and it'll pull out, it covers policy, but yet provides some of the variances that you're looking for.
I am very excited about this report. This was a collaborative effort between someone who was very familiar with Smartsheets, Mr. Nick Flowers, to help me build the foundation for this. And as we've already established, in order to allow an AI function to work properly, to produce what the Finance Committee is looking for and what the community is looking for, and even what we're looking for, we had to build a foundation of tangible parameters in order for AI to be able to do what it needed to do. So everything that Ms. Crosby has described to you, from explaining the 100K report to the different variances, is all wrapped up in this report itself. So we started the beginning of the executive summary talking about that the finance department, we are very pleased to present this, by the way, and I mean that wholeheartedly, as an executive summary, to identify expenditures for July, and we are including comparative data from July 2024. It includes an analysis of major spending areas. It provides visualizations to enhance understanding of financial allocations across core programs and services. But with that, and it was important to incorporate a section on responsibility, because transparency is our responsibility as part of the finance department. It's not only for internal accountability, but also to build trust with stakeholders and the broader community by providing clear, accessible summaries of expenditures and highlighting trends over time. That was important to me because it is very overwhelming to look at this transparency report for someone who's never seen it before. And you see the amount of expenditures that we have monthly, and people ask, well, why are we buying that much? Or why are we seeing those things? If you're not familiar with how large of a sum. So I think having that available for anybody to read kind of brings that little bit of peace of mind that we're summarizing this massive amount of information into categories. So per OE6, we are required to provide a list of $100,000 contracts, which is usually connected to the 14-page 100K report. As you can see, we kept it in the small section on the front of the cover sheet, meeting that requirement. Then the graphs that Ms. Crosby said, as we selected as directors in our meeting to give the most beneficial information. The first one is expenditures by fund. And then key highlights located at the bottom. So general and capital funds for the primary funds to use for July 2025 expenditures, and special revenue spending declined due to closing out of the fiscal year. So a simple explanation explaining the difference in the variance of spending, especially in July, is all captured here on this page. The next one is the top 25 expenditures by category. This, again, has key highlights listed at the bottom. The top 25 expenditure areas included construction, technology, software purchases, repairs, and cleaning services as expected during the summer months. That was also important. Ms. Crosby brought that to my attention as well, because in procurement, I don't always see that from that. I see the differences, but capitalizing on the fact that it was summer. These are things, major things that take place in the summertime, which is also helps us educate the reader of this report. Funding was allocated to support students, maintain facilities, and enhance technological infrastructure. The next visual is the top 10 expenditures by program. So spending covered 10 key categories aligned with district priorities during the summer. Those biggest priorities being facilities acquisition and construction, operation and maintenance, technology and data processing, and then payments to public charter schools. Areas included construction, technology and software purchases, repairs and maintenance operations as expected again during the summer months. The last is another requirement of the 100K. So here is where we have the comparison of July of 2024 and July of 2025 that we've used smart sheets to overlap the two to show the variances in the 100K vendors. So again, you can automatically just picture, you can see them. They pop right out at you. You don't have to read the 2-page report to find out where the variances is. And then we use the AI function to take those different reports and put them together to produce a summary of major variances for ourselves. So while I may see a major variance while I'm going down one line, I look away and I may miss a line when I'm going through. It's the human error factor. This keeps that human error factor away from this report, as long as I'm inputting this transparency report as is. So the data that you're getting in this report is the same data that you're seeing when you click that link on the back page that says you can get the transparency report here. You take that data, put it into Smartsheets, and it produces this. Again, removing that human error element of creating and manually making new spreadsheets or manually making new charts. And I was really happy with how the summary of the major variances came out, because here it explains every variance that we have, why we paid it a month before, or why we paid advanced premiums, or we didn't have contractors then, and then also categorized all of the variances so that you could see from new contracts and services, areas of significant increases, and then other differences with an explanation as well.
Okay, comments, Ms. Hay?
Sorry, my unmute wasn't unmuting me. I love this report. I love everything about it. It's much simpler to look at, and I love the abilities to drill down on information. So thank you for moving forward and accomplishing exactly what we've asked you for. Thank you so much.
Okay, Ms. Gordon? Ms. Gordon? Okay, let's move forward to Ms. Frazier. Ms. Gordon, if you hear us, we'll come back to you, ma'am. Ms. Frazier?
I echo the sentiments. The report was so easy to go through. My eyes aren't crossed at the moment. Thank you.
Who is this on?
That's it.
Okay, in here, Mr. Smith?
Actually, I would like to take a step back to something that she said in the last in her last presentation. I was online and I couldn't I didn't want it to disturb, but I wanted to bring it to my attention when I got back in. I got in. She said that, or someone said that when they were talking about the question you asked me about about sending it to the ethics commission. I do agree with that. And then someone said that that certain ones of us were held to a standard of letting people know if we were kin or something. But that I'm glad you said that, because that brings up something I brought along. I've harped on a long time ago. When we have these contractors or these vendors, if the board don't know who the vendors are, and when we're continuously moving these things forward, then we to some degree we could be at risk ourselves, because we approve these contractors and we don't know who these vendors are. I mean, from time to time, in terms of Yeah, a school may hire someone, and if we're not careful, we don't look, or if it's not on that sheet, because I've asked for information. I've kind of said, well, yeah, we want to be specific, and then you said, well, there's so many vendors. Well, if the staff tell me there's so many vendors, then how can I be held? I'm still being held accountable to that. So then my question becomes to this committee and to the staff: is that fair to me? Because I'm glad that you brought it up, because that brought up a good point. If I'm held to the standard that if I'm okaying money and saying yes, hire this vendor, and I don't know about this vendor, but this vendor is kidding me, or me, this vendor could have something going on, then that puts me in harm's way, and I have a concern. I have concern about that.
Yes. You say something?
Ms. Hay is typing in that we're no longer on topic.
Yeah, okay, so we hear you, Ms. Hay, but it is a topic in terms of its contractual and its vendors and its related to purchasing. So your comment is registered, but we're going to proceed down this. So let's now have the totally transparent conversation, all right? So when I was working, and I know people get sick of hearing about what I did when I was working, but for 33 countries in Africa, Middle East, Pakistan, and Europe, I was responsible for Sarbanes-Oxley, Ribicoff Anti-Boycott Amendment, Denied Parties List, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and all tax applications, submissions, purchasing in 33 countries. So to your question of our accountability is to do what has occurred here today, which is to ask questions of the experts, tee up that we as a collective are concerned, and we're not just standing by, we're asking the appropriate questions. They go off, and so reaching out to South Carolina Ethics is what I did with the US governments and the local governments. So that means we have a model of governance where we don't really get into some of the details, because we need to stay up detached so we can adjudicate if it comes to us, to your point. So that's the protection that we have. So the method we're trying to use here today and in the past is to make sure we're asking the appropriate questions, the experts, and we abide by law, reach out for support from the established organizations, ethics, or the government that handle that. So that's legitimate question, absolutely. But that's the way we need to handle it. Otherwise, if we breach the boundary of going in and trying to manage the details, now accountability can come to us, because if you know about it beyond your appropriate role, then all of a sudden the individual becomes possibly a target. So great question, but we think the way we're doing it, with them taking it back, is going to protect all of us. Okay. All right. Anybody else have a question up there?
Yes, sir. This is how you manage, as a board of trustees, a $370 million a year operation. This is what we need, because this will tell us where we need to dig in and ask for the staff to give us more information. So our scope is so wide. And remember, we're the biggest business in this county. This is not peas and carrots here. This is a big deal. And this is what a very diverse board of trustees needs. Exactly. It gives us the scope of where we're at. And when I look at this, and I look at PEBA insurance finance going up like that, and I'll say, okay, what's going on? And you mentioned that already. But I would have been able to ask that question at the very start, and we would have not had going into all the pages. This is wonderful. This is good work. This is very valuable, good work. And I hope we continue to do this and keep looking for ways to show us, especially you're the ones that are going to find out first when you have a question.
Mhm.
And so one of the things the board doesn't like is to be surprised. And so you can give it to us this way, say, whoops, look at that spike. And then you're all ready to say, this is what's happening. I love this. Well, congratulations. This is dynamite.
All right. Anything else on that?
Just final remarks.
Mhm.
This, the Smart Sheets software isolates the data that we put in it and analyzes what we give it. If you're putting the transparency report into Copilot or Chat GPT, we're not controlling the results that are coming back. So there are some limitations to providing it into another format and just straight into AI rather than having the controls of a database that we're using internally. So I like that, we have that control and over the data. But as you're playing with AI and seeking it, there are limitations of accuracy and you never really know what you're getting. The data could be slightly different than what we're providing. So just wanted to make that note. But we're very happy with this. Ms. Singer came up with this idea. Ms. Phillips began with the ideas of the heat maps and that sort of thing. So the team having input on the language, the wording, which graphs to actually choose for this committee. We can always create another one if we feel like do that, it's valuable to this committee, but I'm extremely excited about it. Didn't even know this was an option, but it's a resource we'll probably be using a lot more in the future.
So, again, we rely on you and your superb team to develop ways that will protect us. Okay, so.
And lastly, I looked up Smart Sheets yesterday. And there was an article that says Smart Sheets new AI tools answer queries, visualize data. So they're constantly enhancing this software to be able to do more with AI. So it's not just stagnant where it is right now is all we're going to get. There are going to be more features and more options for us to use it in different ways going forward. So those, as AI evolves.
And a couple of points, if I may tag on to that. I think Mr. Smith was in transit from going digital to coming in, so he may not have heard that you've also discussed training
Yes.
for the board members so that we can we can execute on this. And we would have that type of security that he's seeking. So, Ms. Hay?
Yes, sir. I just have one quick question, and it's by no means, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, to deplete the efforts that the team has already put in. It's just a curiosity question. If I heard correctly, you had uploaded years 2024 and 2025. And I just was curious if there was a reason we didn't upload prior years to 2024. I wondered if it was, I don't know, due to different data structure or something in prior years. I'm sure there's a reason. And I only ask because the AI, as she was stating, you can't go put this in Chat GPT or anything else because it doesn't understand our district and its models and vendors and so on and so forth. But I do know that the more you feed it, the more accurate and pointed it becomes. So I was just curious if there was a reason we hadn't fed it prior years data to 2024.
We were really trying to replicate the current $100,000 report. So we uploaded the data that we were providing in the detailed reports, which only included those 2 years. So for the last several years, we've only been comparing those 2 years, but I mean, it's possible to upload a third year in that and do a comparative analysis as well. So we were just kind of following with the practices of the last several years on the consolidated or the $100,000 reports, but it's possible to add another year.
No, that's perfect. I figured you had a reason. I just wanted to ask the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hay.
The hardest part about using AI is AI knowing the whys. So AI is not built within our ERP system to say, well, the BB&T, or not the PIBA premiums were paid at the beginning of this month, but at the end of the last month last year, depending on the AP cycle. So that is still information that we have to dig and find, or we manually have to go look, because AI doesn't understand the why of something. AI doesn't know that we had an emergency water main break. So we have to still find that information and then input it in and give it the basics of it, so then it can produce the variances for us. So we could absolutely add more years. I don't see why we couldn't, but again, major variances, we would still have to go looking for that. It identifies the number in the variances, but the why we still have to look for. That's something AI cannot produce for us yet.
So let me just ask, may I ask?
Yep.
Okay, so then it sounds like for economy of our resources, human resources and talent, we stick with the 2 current years. And as we go forward, it will be our data, right? Wouldn't be AI data, anything like that, right?
Right.
So then that protects the integrity of what you would be comparing year over year with. I think that's why.
So July of 2026, starting at the beginning of FY 27, if we then start the 3rd year at that time, then it is the same exact data that you've already seen. And then you know, it's almost like an internal control that the data has not been changed, because then you have the ability to go back and look and compare it yourself with reports that have already been available to you, so that it would be layered on top of data that's already been presented to the board.
And it's our secure data.
Yes.
Okay, so Ms. Hay, if you heard that explanation, what we're recommending is that we proceed with 2 years this year, add a 3rd year next year. In July, you can have year over year comparatives going back inclusive of the 3 years. Is that okay, ma'am?
Yes, absolutely. That's why the minute she explained it initially, I understood what, why she didn't. Like I said, it was more just a question of curiosity, because the more information for our AI model, the better. So I figured they had an explanation for it. I just wanted to ask the question. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else on? Okay, next item.
The next item is the quarterly financial report for the fourth quarter of 2025. This is a financial summary and not as detailed as the other 3 reports you've received throughout the year, for 2 reasons. Well, one, it's not audited yet, so it's an unaudited version. It is as of basically last Thursday's information. So our amounts had not even been sent, or trial balance had not even been sent to the auditors until this Monday. So there are a few transactions that we will have that will alter these from a relatively minor, we believe. We've made a few projections within this of for example, delinquent tax revenue that will be accrued back. So there's some minor changes, but we believe we've accounted for the majority of those. And the second thing is timing. We are very busy trying to close the financial statements for the year on these financials to get them to the auditors. So we're limited on time and do an extensive report at this time of year, but we did provide one at a summary level. So overall, things are looking very good for the school district. Our total revenues received are estimated at 100.6%. Last year, our revenues were at 104.7. So last year, our revenues were much larger than our budget or projections. This year, we're right on target. So somehow that miraculously happened to be probably within a couple $100,000 of our projections on a $220 million tax revenue basis. So keep that in mind. That's local tax revenues. $359 million overall were the projections, and we came in 0.6% off of that. So that's really something to be excited about as well. Local tax projections primarily are the primary source about 2/3 of the budget, and we came in at 100.4%. Prior year collections were 106%. So tax collections of 221 were greater than the budget by about $1 million for June 30, 2025. So we, like I said, with our July and August taxes have to be accrued back. So we're still waiting on the August tax revenues, which generally come to us in the reports from the treasurer's office at the end of September, and we have not seen those yet this month. Tax revenues, state revenues are estimated at 98%. Prior year was 102.8, so we're coming a little under budget. In the state revenue area this year, the largest difference was the major pot called state aid to classrooms. There's generally about $55 million in that pot. We're receiving about $3 million less than last year. School bus driver salary payments came in about 700, almost 800,000 more than projected. Believe that those, we probably budgeted in an opposite area for bus drivers, but the actuals came in that category due to bus driver increases in pay this year. Federal revenue collections finished higher than projected. Federal impact aid and E-rate funds primarily make up that source. E-rate was the majority of the increase in that area. So our E-rate reimbursement from the FCC came in strong this year. So overall revenues are in great shape. Expenditures, total spending is at 99.3% of the $159 million budget. Last year was almost identical at this point in the year. This represents an underspending of $2.4 million and by the end of the fourth quarter, instructional spending was about 97.8%. That is 98% of the annual budget. Prior year was 99.6. So we spent, our instructional spending was a little lower. That is most of the teachers and teacher salaries are in those categories. Support programs and transfers were a little higher than last year, right at 98% versus 96.5%. And charter payments are categorized in this area called intergovernmental transfers. And then we have your chart A, and that lists the activities compared to the budget and to the prior year. 2024-25 budget was $359.2 million. We did project expenditures to be a little lower than that. The unaudited actuals show an underspending of $6.9 million for this year. So overall, $8 million, but our revenues are also $1 million overall under budget. So the net of the two is $6.9 million that we expect to add to the fund balance. So I know that's a lot complicated, but basically we're underspending in the expenditure area. We were coming under projection in the revenue as well. And the two net together to about a $7 million increase in fund balance. Now, we talked last year, our original fund balance was 21%. We ended up at 20.1%. We talked last time about a transfer to capital projects fund. And there was interest in the membership of this committee to, instead of moving an amount to the capital projects fund to save for other purposes, there was an interest in taking our fund balance up from 20% to 21%. Well, this projected actual now sits at 21%. So there is no need to move money to the capital projects fund. So I do not have a recommendation today for you to move anything anywhere. This falls exactly in line with the wishes that I believe this committee had. So that's where we sit. With a few modifications, there will be a few changes in journal entries that we have to make before the final audit is due on December 1st. But I say my recommendation is everything stays in the general fund balance. So that would move our fund balance from 72.2 million to a projected $79 million. As our budget grows, the need for reserves will grow as well. And best practices, we would be at 77 days of operations. What that means is if a major event, weather event or other event occurred, how long could you pay the bills without having any revenue sources coming in? What do you have to use? What's in the bank to continue to pay staff if we did not operate, to keep them here, keep them in town or close by so that they return eventually. That's 77 days. The minimum our policy states is 60 days. So it places us in a better position to address a natural disaster and continue operations as normal as possible. So this also follows our policy to continue to not have to need a tax anticipation note, and it only helps reinforce our credit rating being at its current level of AA1 and AA. So with that, I will, and sorry, there are a few other detailed schedules behind this, 3 other schedules. The first one is revenues only. The second is revenues and expenditures for the general fund. The first 2 are general fund only. So these 2 reports kind of reinforce the summary of what I just discussed for you. And then the last page of the report provides all funds of the district. So when we say that we manage about a $750 million operation, these are every fund that we manage. And each one, there's an expert in every area of these reports on our team, some managing multiple areas that we are zero in on and know all the restrictions that each of these areas require. So I'll end with that and open up to any questions you may have or comments.
Ms. Gordon?
No questions at this time, but I would like to congratulate the Finance Committee on their reporting and answering.
Yes,
Hello?
ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
And I just want to thank them. And it's been a great report, and the questions from the committee members have been great as well, and the responses. So continue doing what you do and appreciate it. Thank you.
Ms. Hay?
Yes, I echo Ms. Gordon's sentiments, and I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Frazier says no comments. That's it for everybody that's on. Okay, Mr. Smith?
No comments.
Okay. Colonel Guy?
Saw in the news today that Charleston and Greenville got their credit rating. Do you know how they managed to do that?
I do not. I did read the same article. It's a AA1 and AA plus so Standard & Poor's.
Right.
I upgraded them to AA plus. Charleston's economy, having stayed there all weekend, is booming. Massive growth, massive construction, massive industry. So my thoughts are that those factors are leading into theirs, and some of which we do not have in Beaufort, the industry piece. We may have a lot of growth, but I can explore that and talk to I visited Charleston County School District office about 2 weeks ago. So I have a good relationship with staff. I can certainly call and talk to them about how they did it.
I think, obviously, we can't match the revenue, on a per capita basis because of the industry there. But I just need to know if they have any tricks that, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, yes.
And so we can find out.
And also we can talk with our financial advisor and say, what would it take for us to get a AA+
Right.
as well from Standard
Right.
Poor's? So.
Right.
we can certainly do
And,
that.
and we also need to talk to Brian about, I don't want to compete for our bond issues at the same time that Greenville and Charleston compete.
Right.
I don't want our stuff hitting the market at the same time. So we got to make sure, because I used to not care because we had the same bond rating, but now I care. So you need to talk to Brian.
Right, well, we had a refunding
Yeah,
this past week.
right.
And we are going to have $1.5 million of savings.
Yep.
At 1.6 million of savings as a result of a 2.71% net interest rate. We were the biggest bond in the market on that day in the country. $35 million refinancing of a bond, of a 2015 bond. We were the biggest one on the market. And we were able to get a very competitive rate. So I think our financial advisor, I'm sure he's aware of the other issues that are around on that date. And so he strategizes very well to place this on the right day and right timing. So, and looks very closely at what the Fed is doing, when the jobs report is coming out, what the head of the Federal Reserve and so on. So we'll continue to push in that area to see if we can enhance our rating.
The other comment, Mr. Chair, is that I strongly believe that in the first quarter of 2026, we're going to see inflation. And that's why having that fund balance up an extra % may serve us well, because I really see that the tariff issue is going to start hitting hard about that time. It's always a lag when policies are set, when impact hits the economy. So I'm really glad to see that fund balance go up about a percentage point.
My only caution is that it makes things a little harder to continue to achieve and stay at that percentage.
Understand.
So we'll need to increase in the future to maintain that level. So that's just something to look at in order to achieve that number, that percentage. The amount will need to move with it.
Leading indicators is the real estate market, because frankly, we are getting this extra revenue from houses that were appraised at 200,000 that sell for 400,000. And that's, as long as that real estate market stays at least consistent, we will continue to get revenues in addition to what we had expected for the same millage rate. So that's our leading indicator, is if we see the real estate market tank, look out.
Okay. Nick, superb job on that, and glad that the committee had the conversation about going to 21%. I'm glad that through all of your
Worked out.
expertise that it seems to be working out. There's some similarities between the 1920s and the 2020s in terms of economic risk. And we all know what happened in 19 to the Depression, to the current forms, whatever that's worth. All right. Next one, ma'am.
All right, final report is the Minority Women-Owned Business Enterprise Report through June 30th, 2025. Ms. Uner, this is yours again.
Semi-annual report here. This is the Minority Women Owned Business Enterprise, the report that we are required to report to the board semi-annually as per board Words are hard today. Per board policy OE 6.2. The district must report every 6 months on the semi-annual progress of its efforts to meet the board's goal of 10% of the controllable budget spent on minority business owned of contracts, procurement, and supplies. So again, January 1st, to June 30th of this past year, the funds expended, the total controllable budget, 6-month figure was $147,450,050. Established goal for MWBE utilization is 10% of the controllable budget, which would be $14,745,005. And the total dollars expended to certified was $4,844,275.59. So there's 3.29% of the controllable budget. For non-certified minority women business enterprise, it's $15,955,311.71, which was 10.82% of the controllable budget. And then the total dollars expended combined for all minority women business enterprises was $20,799,587.30, which was 14.11% of the controllable budget. The number of solicitations issued during the 6-month period was 17, and one of those was, I'm sorry, it's 18. 17 was for goods and services. One was for construction and renovation. We had no bids received from certified minority women business enterprise. Splitting those certified minority women business enterprises into a minority and women-owned category, $95,765.42 made up the minority expenditures, while $4,748,510.17 women-owned businesses. And again, those were certified. So out of the 6-month, we did business with 6 certified minority women business enterprise owned companies. So we do encourage non-certified MWBs to become certified to help meet that target, 10% for certified. We do that by giving them the information readily available on the website. We have semi-annual vendor conferences. Heary, CBRE Heary, our contractor, Turner Townsend Heary now, reaches out and also does a great job of making sure that the subcontractor events. So the visual usage percentage versus our actual goals, we did meet that 10% with the combination of certified and non-certified for the semi-annual report with that 14.11%. And then again, in our conscious effort to acquire more minority and women-owned businesses, we place ad in local newspapers. We reach out as much as we can by strengthening our community relations, having pretty much an open door policy with vendors, answering cold calls from vendors, everything that we could possibly do to try and increase that even more. This year, for the 6-month period from January to July, we had 3 sole sources. That was North American Learning Institute, which was bullying prevention curriculum that they purchased. Lab Aids, which was SEPUP learning materials for Hilton Head High School. And then VRC, which was our district digitization of student records. They already hold all of our records. And then we had no emergency procurements to report during that period as well.
I think last time we started with Ms. Gordon. So Ms. Hay?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, what'd you
I
say,
don't have
ma'am?
any questions, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Gordon? Ms. Gordon, we'll come back to you if that's okay. And is Mr. Smith the only board member? Is anyone else? Oh, Ms. Frazier? Okay, all right, love the initiative. Mr. Smith?
My question would be, well, I was first off by saying I appreciate the report. I was just in a meeting a couple weeks ago, we're talking about minorities and minority women. contracts and how they're not really so much kind of actually minority. So I would kind of like to possibly see this this information broken down in terms of blacks, white, in terms of minority, understanding who's really the minority, how the contracts are really broken down to who the contractors are going to, because technically speaking, a Caucasian woman, a white woman she could be a minority, you know, as well as a person of color. So just understanding who's getting in the resources and the services or benefiting from these minority contracts, because it's just a concern of understanding and to be able to digest what we're really asking for and what we're really getting in terms of it. Not saying that you're not delivering the product that we're asking for, but a breakdown to digest and really understand it to what the information really is that we're getting in terms of gender, sex, and race.
I have but the breakdown is required with certified when they register with SCDOT or they register with the SMBCC, which is the small business initiative through the state. So they can give me the breakdown there because they are assigned a number per se for what category, which is what Section 3 represents for us. We had the minority and the women, and I was able to split the certified. The non-certified, by my procurement law, does not have to disclose that information. However, we are aware and we ask them to at least disclose whether or not it's woman or minority. And I do have that information broken down and split in between. But that information, why it is not provided in this report, because that information is given to us by contractors for the subcontractors, and they are electing and identifying as minority and women-owned businesses. So there is no concrete, I can't say like definite, that what their representation is when they supply that data. So I feel like putting it in this report there's nothing foolproof for it, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so they do have that information split.
So basically, you're saying that there's no evidence, no concrete evidence that hold on, let me finish. There's no concrete evidence that we know exactly who we're actually giving these contracts to.
Oh, we do, sir. Yes, they're just not registered, so I can't put the data that I don't have through a registered database in the report. I have what they've elected as part of their documentation that they've sent with us, whether they're women or minority businesses, but having it actually registered with the state, I don't have that information because they're not certified. I only have the representation from the certifieds that are broke down through the state.
So then my question would be, what state law is stopping us from asking those questions?
Well, we can ask the questions, but by law, they don't have to provide it. It's not a requirement for them to do business with us. They provide us with the information, but to be certified, then they have to provide that to the state. That's a requirement for them to be elected as certified.
Okay, so to be certified, they would have to answer those questions that I'm asking.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but I mean, I still stand where I stand. I mean, as in terms of, my question is still the same. If the state asks them that just to be certified, then I don't see anything wrong with us asking them that, even if they're uncertified. Because if the state can do it, why can't we do it? We're an entity trying to understand who we're giving resources to, and understand who's benefiting from our services, and how we being how are we spreading our money across this community. So
yes, sir.
And those questions come to me quite often. And like I said, I was in a meeting that was kind of pulled into that they're asking me how how are we benefiting, and how are we tracking our resources, and how are we doing how are we marketing ourselves to be fair across. And I remember this was like I told them, this was something that we had moved our numbers, and we have done it before. And when those specific questions came to me, I quite frankly couldn't answer. I wouldn't trade truthfully. So I would show, but I know minorities, and that's when we went into the discussion of what minorities, what that really consists of. So that's just to bring it where I'm asking what I'm asking.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so as I understand it, and I've seen it before, all right, since the non-certified responses are elective,
Mhm.
they're not valid.
They're not.
Basically,
They're not certified.
Not certified to
Yes,
go
sir.
in there. This is a certified report, okay?
Yep, this is certified and are non-certified, and the only way to present the data with is actually, I would say concrete from the state has vetted certified, is to split the minority and the women-owned business. We split it on our end when they elect to give us the information. Now, if they come to us and say they're a minority women business, we say, are you women-owned or minority? And they give us the information. But if they just say, no, I'm just one of these, we say, well, you're not getting on the list. So, but it's also supplied to us through our contractors and our subcontractors. Non-certified also is out of state. These are our Savannah companies coming in from Atlanta, people coming in from North Carolina. They're certified in other states, but I can't recognize them in the certified category because South Carolina procurement law states they have to be South Carolina certified.
So I guess one of the questions, and I understand the complexity of what you deal with.
Yes, sir.
Deal with it as well. Is, do you know Dolores DaCosta? Does that name ring a bell? She used to head up the South Carolina Minority and Women's Business. And so she spoke at the Hispanic Business Caucus last year, as did Superintendent Rodriguez. And so she has several different departments under her.
Mhm.
And that may be, again, just like reaching out to this ethics. So it shows we're making that effort to above and beyond the good work that you're doing now, to actually see if she can help, or if she's left that road in her designate. The other thing is, I know for a fact that some minority women businesses that have independent businesses
Mhm.
don't want to go through the process. And so I don't know how you get around that unless you're gonna, maybe there's some mechanism at the state level. I think this DaCosta's role does that. She actually instructs businesses. Okay.
So we've worked with minority businesses who actually help other minority businesses become certified. And the same barrier that we keep running into is the cost to become certified, because you have to have audited financial statements and you have to go through this very complex process to become certified. And it is the conversation we revisit, because as Denise would say, when you know better, you do better. And we're always looking to educate ourselves on how to become better, putting the information out there. But it's the will of the businesses willing to become certified. So even the vendor events that we had, we invited another minority vendor that helps minority businesses become certified. And the minute that there is asked to open books or to give information, that barrier goes back up. So it's a scary process for some people, but we're always open to suggestions on how we can engage even better with the community. Completely open to that 100% all the time.
Can I tag on to that then?
Oh, yes, sir.
As a board member, I'm certainly already, and I know many of the board members are, holding numerous meetings with constituents and groups that ask us to speak. So if there can be a short briefing that we can give as we go about, or maybe even include a page in the community report that's coming out for 2025, saying that the school district is soliciting small businesses, et cetera, and see if that helps generate any interest. A lot of times this one-on-one interpersonal networking can help supplement all the good work that you and the finance group are doing. Is that okay?
Yes, I would also encourage that with the operations committee too, since they work so closely with our really large contractor that does a lot of our subcontracting, which makes up the majority of our small businesses that come to do work with us that are minority and women owned, that they are great resources, that as well, getting that information out there to the smaller businesses about our larger contractors that we have that subcontract out, especially with construction.
Good. So the two, is that okay, Mr. Crosby? Okay. Colonel Guy, any? Because you got a lot of experience here.
Yeah, this is a very difficult subject. The federal government, you have to be certified and give a discount. In other words, if your bid can come in as much as 15% higher, and you could still get the contract over a non-minority owned business, That's 15%. And it's also that way in the state of Washington, that minority and women business have an advantage. State of South Carolina does not have that. Now, Raquel Paget, for all.
Yep.
She is out there training minority businesses how to get certified. Because getting certified is a huge advantage. And frankly, I don't trust our prime contracts really dig into their subcontractors that they are in fact minority owned.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, you know, a prime contractor is going to take the sub's word that they are, and there's nothing legally that we can do to force them to confirm. But I think it's important that we should make sure in our contracting basis that we ask them to provide information on their subs. Do we do that?
Yes, so they are required to provide with their pay applications and all the subs that they have. And also when they are submitting information to me on their subcontractors, if they are certified, they have to.
Oh, certified.
All of that.
Of course.
And with their non-certified, sometimes they'll throw local businesses on there and we remove them from the list because local does not qualify for minority or
I
women.
understand.
Yes, so we do vet that when that information comes in to make sure that we're not inflating this. And that is also why the state has made it to where the goal is the certified goal.
Right.
Not because if
Yes.
it's non-certified, we could all meet the goal all the time. So that's why we show you the breakdown of certified and non-certified to show you where we're at on our certified level.
But even, you know, even when you have strong protocols,
Mhm.
I know in the federal government, there's a tribe in Montana. That's all they do is come in and sign on the line when they incorporate that they are the owner. They aren't owning nothing, but on the paperwork, this, you know, Native American person is listed as the owner. And that happens a lot. That happens a lot. And so, you know, this is a very difficult thing to keep track of. And as long as we cause our primes to give us the information on their subs, and I think it would behoove us to do a check, you know, not everyone, but at random, to see what we can find out. And I mean, we can Google it. I mean, it's not like, hey, you have to get an investigator, but you could Google it and see if they have a web page and take a look at who it is and where they live and where they're from. And they got their picture in there. You know, I want us to be good stewards, and I want us to give jobs to our local, especially our local minority businesses. But I understand the business licenses and the bonding and the insurance and everything else is also an impediment.
Yes, sir. And the ethics implications are too, because procurement doesn't allow us to give any kind of preference.
Exactly.
To local or to
Exactly.
women
That's right.
or minority or even veteran owned businesses.
That's
You're here, but
that's correct.
it's a balancing act with reaching out and getting what we need, but also meeting the ethics and portion of the procurement as well. So, but again, always open to it. I will work with Turner Townsend to also making sure that we're doing the spot checks to vet. I go in and I check anyway, but making sure that information's coming in, we're doing it twofold on both sides.
And I'm sorry, go ahead, Greg.
And I will mention it to Mr. Vargas too,
Yes,
next time I see him, saying that we're going to be checking. Okay?
yes, sir.
And then there can be a narrative maybe with Ms. Dr. Bruder on how we are, you know, that I can take out in other board members if they are so inclined. A lot of time. Well done. Any other questions? From any of the board member? Ms. Hay, Ms. Gordon, Colonel Guy,
No, I don't
Ms.
have any
Frey?
questions.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Mrs. Gordon, no questions.
All right. Ms. Frazier?
No questions.
Okay. Mr. Smith? Thank you. Good question. Mr. Colonel Gordon? Who, Guy, God almighty.
Words are hard.
Words are hard. Okay, anything else, future agenda topic? Ma'am?
Well, we'll be bringing the new transparency reports.
Mhm.
It will be no longer new, but it will be the transparency report. At this time, I don't have any further future topics, but I'm sure there will be others that come up between now and then. We'll do a bond update because we'll have the refunding. Or that already occurred. That's 0.71%, so we won't have bond update. So at this time, I don't know of any other topics, but I'm sure I'll look back at last year and see what we're doing at this point. But we're heavily in the audit at this time of year, so hopefully what I find won't be a whole lot for the next meeting because we have a lot of work to do for the audit.
Understand totally.
Sage says she has no future topics.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hay. All right, well, I guess for the good of the order, we can adjourn. And thanks everybody for your candid input and guidance from having Madam Crosby, you and your team, thank you for stellar work. Stellar work.